Greetings everyone, my name is Gigi and this is Let's Build, wherein I build a LEGO set timed to different media and talk about the facts concerning the topic of the build. Today's build is the LEGO Icons Ghostbusters ECTO-1 versus the Real Ghostbusters, the animated series. I will not be playing any of the audio for copyright reasons. The footage I am using for this animated series is for science, educational, and research purposes. My content is transformative and protected under fair use. All footage is time-lapse with commentary. There will be spoilers for Ghostbusters. You have been warned. I will be focusing mainly on the 80s Ghostbusters films. Specifications of the LEGO set. If you're a Ghostbusters fan, we've got just the thing for you. The LEGO Ghostbusters ECTO-1. Bust the stress out of everyday life and indulge in some quality me time as you build a LEGO version of the coveted 1959 Cadillac Miller Meteor ambulance from the Ghostbusters movies. Spookily good details. Based on the Ghostbusters Afterlife movie version, this ECTO-1 model features working steering, a trapdoor, ghost trap, an extended rear gunner seat, proton pack, and cool details from the original car, such as the iconic Ghostbusters logos. A building project for you. You don't need a collection of LEGO sets to enjoy this buildable model car kit. You just need some table space and maybe some Ghostbusters tunes playing in the background. This LEGO car set is part of a collection of inspiring LEGO building kits for adults who love great design. It also makes a great Ghostbusters gift for yourself or the model car builder in your life who's looking for their next project. This is the ultimate ECTO-1 building kit for fans of LEGO bricks and Ghostbusters, looking to build their next model car or simply relax with an immersive, hands-on hobby project. This is no Ghostbusters toy. It's a car kit for adults with working steering, trapdoor ghost trap, an extending gunner seat, plus a moving ghost sniffer and other paranormal detection equipment. Are you all about the details? With pieces like a carved windshield, modular steering wheel, and brick with Ghostbusters deco, this authentically detailed set will look great in your home or office. Ideal for Ghostbusters fans and LEGO lovers alike, this ECTO-1 model car gives hours of enjoyment and a building experience that will appeal to adults. It makes a great gift for anyone who'd love a model car to build. Measuring over 8 inches high, 18 inches long, and 6 inches wide, ECTO-1 is packed with authentic details that you'll be proud to display. You don't need batteries to enjoy this buildable model. It's powered by pure ectoplasm. Only joking. As well as a step-by-step guide to building the model, the coffee table style instructions include design details and the story of ECTO-1, English language only. Download other languages at lego.com/ecto1book. Classifieds. Help wanted, we're calling you. There are ghosts appearing all over Somerville, and we need your help right away. This is an exciting opportunity to rebuild the legendary ECTO-1 with some brand new upgrades, according to the plans we've uncovered in a barn not far from town. The car is literally in pieces though, 2,352 of them in fact, and you'll have the honor of putting them back together one by one. The Ghostbusters have a long history of protecting residents from the paranormal. They saved New York from the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man and protected the world from the evil spirit of Gozer. When slime levels rise and ghosts descend, you know who to call. History of Ecto-1. Before getting our flagship Ectomobile back on the road, it's important to understand a little background information on this 1959 Cadillac Miller Meteor. Originally purchased by Dr. Ray Stantz for $4,800, this vehicle was perfect for our new paranormal investigation and elimination business. With the help of Dr. Egon Spengler, all the ghost-busting gear was added to make this the ultimate command vehicle. As you can see, the car has seen better days, but if you're up for the task, we're ready to believe you. Nothing draws attention like our spectacular Ectomobile racing around with its lights and blazing, siren screeching. You never know who or what you'll meet at the other end. Portable Command Station. To some, it may look like a repurposed V8 1959 Cadillac Series 62 Miller Meteor with 360 horsepower and 4-speed automatic transmission, which indeed it is. But to us, it's a roving HQ with a mobile laboratory and portable arsenal containing every weapon at our ghost-busting disposal. Often imitated but never matched, the Ecto-1 has survived everything from catastrophic earthquakes to lava-hot marshmallow fluff. Now it's your job to reassemble and overhaul it. Meet Mike the Mechanic. Meet Mike Sayaki, Ghostbuster and LEGO Ectomobile builder. He designed this latest update of the Ecto-1 and would have completed it if he hadn't met with an unfortunate protonic reversal accident. His biggest challenge was capturing the complicated curves of the Cadillac with boxy LEGO elements. Like all true scientists, engineers, and LEGO builders, Mike was an ace at adapting and improvising. The latter for his Ecto-1 came from 2 classic LEGO window frames stacked on top of each other, while the front grille is actually made up of more than 40 silver roller skates. Ectomobile Overview. Now that you're up to the task, it's time to take a deep dive into the particulars of our impressive quick-response vehicle and all its sophisticated equipment. The detailed schematic and reference materials contained over the next pages should allow you to move forward, hopefully at the wheel of a completed Ectomobile. Ghostbusters is a 1984 American supernatural comedy film directed by Ivan Reitman and written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. It stars Bill Murray, Aykroyd, and Ramis as Peter Venkman, Ray Stantz, and Egon Spengler, 3 eccentric parapsychologists who start a ghost-catching business in New York City. It also stars Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis, and features Annie Potts, Ernie Hudson, and William Atherton in supporting roles. Based on his fascination with spirituality, Aykroyd conceived Ghostbusters as a project starring himself and John Belushi, in which they would venture through time and space battling supernatural threats. Following Belushi's death in 1982, however, and with Aykroyd's concept deemed financially impractical, Ramis was hired to help rewrite the script to set it in New York City and make it more realistic. It was the first comedy film to employ expensive special effects, and Columbia Pictures, concerned about its relatively high $25 to $30 million budget, had little faith in its box office potential. Filming took place from October 1983 to January 1984 in New York City and Los Angeles. Due to competition for special effects studios among various films in development at the time, Richard Edlund used part of the budget to found Boss Film Studios, which employed a combination of practical effects, miniatures, and puppets to deliver the ghoulish visuals. Ghostbusters was released on June 8, 1984, to critical acclaim and became a cultural phenomenon. It was praised for its blend of comedy, action, and horror, and Murray's performance was often singled out for praise. It earned at least $282 million worldwide during its initial theatrical run, and was the second highest grossing film of 1984 in the United States and Canada, and the then highest grossing comedy ever. It was the #1 film in the U.S. theaters for 7 consecutive weeks, and one of only 4 films to gross more than $100 million that year. Further theatrical releases have increased the worldwide total gross to around $370 million, making it one of the most successful comedy films of the 1980s. In 2015, the Library of Congress selected it for preservation in the National Film Registry. Its theme song, Ghostbusters, by Ray Parker Jr., was also a #1 hit. With its effect on pop culture and dedicated fan following, the success of Ghostbusters launched a multi-billion-dollar multimedia franchise. This included the popular animated television series, The Real Ghostbusters, in 1986, its follow-up Extreme Ghostbusters from 1997, video games, board games, comic books, clothing, music, and haunted attractions. Ghostbusters was followed in 1989 by Ghostbusters II, which fared less well financially and critically, and attempts to develop a second sequel paused in 2014 following Ramis's death. After a 2016 reboot received mixed reviews and underperformed financially, a second sequel to the 1984 film, Ghostbusters Afterlife from 2021, was released, followed by Ghostbusters Frozen Empire in 2024. Plot: after Columbia University parapsychology professors Peter Venkman, Ray Stantz, and Egon Spengler experience their first encounter with a ghost at the New York Public Library, the university dean dismisses the credibility of their paranormal-focused research and fires them. The trio responds by establishing Ghostbusters, a paranormal investigation and elimination service operating out of a disused firehouse. They develop high-tech nuclear-powered equipment to capture and contain the ghosts, although business is initially slow. Following a paranormal encounter in her apartment, cellist Dana Barrett visits the Ghostbusters. She recounts witnessing a demonic, dog-like creature in her refrigerator utter a single word, Zool. Ray and Egon research Zool and details of Dana's building, while Peter inspects her apartment and unsuccessfully attempts to seduce her. The Ghostbusters are hired to remove a gluttonous ghost from the Sedgwick Hotel. Having failed to properly test their equipment, Egon warns the group that crossing the energy streams of their proton pack weapons could cause a catastrophic explosion. They capture the ghost and deposit it into an ecto-containment unit under the firehouse. Supernatural activity rapidly increases across the city, and the Ghostbusters become famous. They hire a 4th member, Winston Zedmore, to cope with the growing demand. Suspicious of the Ghostbusters, the Environmental Protection Agency inspector Walter Peck asks to evaluate their equipment, but Peter rebuffs him. Egon warns that the containment unit is nearing capacity and supernatural energy is surging across the city. Peter meets with Dana and informs her Zool was a demigod worshipped as a servant to Gozer the Gozerian, a shape-shifting god of destruction. Upon returning home, Dana is possessed by Zool. A similar entity possesses her neighbor, Louis Tully. Peter arrives and finds the possessed Dana/Zool claiming to be the gatekeeper. Louis is brought to Egon by police officers and claims that he is Vince Clortho, the Keymaster. The Ghostbusters agree they must keep the pair separated. Peck returns with law enforcement and city workers to have the Ghostbusters arrested and their containment unit deactivated, causing an explosion that releases the captured ghosts. Louis/Vince escapes in the confusion and makes his way to the apartment building to join Dana/Zool. In jail, Ray and Egon reveal that Ivo Shandor, leader of a Gozer-worshipping cult in the early 20th century, designed Dana's building to function as an antenna to attract and concentrate spiritual energy to summon Gozer and bring about the apocalypse. Faced with supernatural chaos across the city, the Ghostbusters convince the mayor to release them. The Ghostbusters travel to a hidden temple located on top of the building as Dana/Zool and Louis/Vince open the gate between dimensions and transform into demonic dogs. Gozer appears as a woman and attacks the Ghostbusters, then disappears when they attempt to retaliate, with its disembodied voice demanding the Ghostbusters choose a form of the destructor. Ray inadvertently recalls a beloved corporate mascot from his childhood, and Gozer reappears as a gigantic, stay-puffed marshmallow man that begins destroying the city. Against his earlier advice, Egon instructs the team to cross their proton energy streams at the dimensional gate. The resulting explosion destroys Gozer's avatar, banishing it back to its dimension, and closes the gateway. The Ghostbusters then rescue Dana and Louis from the wreckage and are welcomed on the streets as heroes. The Ecto-1. The Ecto-1, also known as the Ectomobile, is a fictional vehicle from the Ghostbusters franchise. It appears in the films Ghostbusters from '84, Ghostbusters II from 1989, Ghostbusters the 2016 reboot, Ghostbusters Afterlife from 2021, Ghostbusters Frozen Empire from 2024, the animated television series The Real Ghostbusters, and Extreme Ghostbusters, and in the video games Ghostbusters the video game and Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed. I, again, will be focusing just on the 80s films, and of course the animated series. The Ecto-1 is a 1959 Cadillac Miller Meteor Sentinel limo-style end-loader combination car, an ambulance conversion, used in the 1984 film Ghostbusters and other Ghostbusters fictions. The original vehicle design was created by Stephen Dane, credited as hardware consultant in the credits. In the original movie, Ray Stantz pays $4,800 for it and claims it needs a plethora of repairs. In Stantz's own words, it needs suspension work and shocks, brakes, brake pads, lining, steering box, transmission, rear end, maybe new rings, also mufflers, a little wiring. Dr. Egon Spengler miniaturized ghost-busting technology for mobile purposes, and they were mounted on the roof of the rack of the Ecto-1. The muon scrubbers, radio GPS locator, high-intensity microphones, EMF scrubbers, drone trap dome. The gunner seat. The passenger rear seat later became a gunner seat. Pushing a lever down would move the door open and against the exterior when the gunner seat extends out. The person on the seat would then have a proton pack to use. After the necessary reconstruction, it is used to carry the Ghostbusters and their ghost-capturing equipment through New York City. Its features include a special pull-out rack utilizing the old ambulance's gurney in the rear containing the staff's proton packs. There are also various gadgets mounted on the top whose functions are never revealed in the movies. A cartoon episode features the proton cannon, presumably a more powerful version of the proton pack, mounted on the top for use against extra-large or even giant-sized paranormal entities. Dan Aykroyd's original Ecto-1 was an all-black, rather sinister-looking machine with flashing white and purple strobe lights that gave it a strange ultraviolet aura. While going through the script, the cinematographer Laszlo Kovacs was the first who pointed out the black design would be a problem since part of the movie would be shot at night. It had some extra-normal powers, such as the ability to dematerialize. One use of it would be to elude police pursuit. In drafts of the first movie, Ecto-1 was originally different models. In the July 6, 1983 draft, it was to be a blue and white 1975 Cadillac full formal Excelsior ambulance, bought for only $600. But by the time the September 30th, 1983 draft was written, the price had escalated to $1,400 for an even older 1959 model. Very long, gold 1959 Cadillac ambulance. During filming, inflation increased the cost to $4,800. It was ultimately decided that Ecto-1, and later Ecto-1A, would be a Miller Meteor Futura ambulance hearse combination mounted on a 1959 Cadillac Fleetwood professional chassis. The black and gray 1959 Cadillac Miller Meteor Futura, purchased by Ray in the movie, was originally an ambulance used by the Bellwoods Rescue Squad, number 486, in Bellwood, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago, between 1968 and 1981. The exterior was a red and white, and the interior vinyl was baby blue. A young 20-something-year-old paramedic named Roger, who worked for a private ambulance company in Chicago, saw the Cadillac in November to December of 1982 on the south side with 59 Cadillac make offer written on the windshield with shoe polish. A few days later, he bought it and his father helped him retrieve it. In September 1983, the EMT company where he worked at was contacted by a representative of Columbia. They were looking for a 59 Miller Meteor as the before car for a movie. Roger rented it to them for 4 months. The deal was that it would be transported to Los Angeles in October for the filming. However, it was first trucked to New York City for the exterior shot outside Hook and Ladder Company No. 8 at 18 North Moore Street when Peter exclaims, "You can't park that here." Roger was able to make the trip to New York City in October 1983 using some of the rental money to see the filming. The license plate was 2785 FEM. He was surprised to see his car painted black and gray. That was not part of the deal, but Columbia gave him a second payment to cover the price of painting it back to the way it was before. It was then transported to Los Angeles for the interior shoot of Dana's first entrance into the firehouse. A total of 94 miles was added to its odometer. A hospital in Riverside, California contacted Frank Corrente's Cadillac Corner in West Hollywood about selling a 1959 Cadillac Miller Meteor Futura ambulance in gold that was still in driving condition. Mr. Corrente agreed to purchase it, and the Cadillac was driven from Riverside to West Hollywood. At some point in 1983, the Ghostbusters production team purchased the 1959 Cadillac from Cadillac Corner. Corrente sold the ambulance in part because his employees drove it around Hollywood with the siren on, and local police received noise complaints from places such as retirement homes. The car bought from Cadillac Corner became the primary Ecto-1 hero car used in the movie. Work on Ecto-1 hero car started in October of 1983. Stephen Dane, credited as a hardware consultant, was the fabricator of the original Ecto-1. On October 5, 1983, Dane started working on Ecto-1. He visited the primary ambulance in the back lot of the Burbank studios. He took reference photos and measurements, then went home. He drew up isometrics of Ecto-1 and its roof rack and various views and elevations of the exterior and interior. Dane spent the longest amount of time in his gig working on the Ecto-1 design. After Ivan Reitman approved Dane's design, studio painters and prop makers at the Burbank Studios mill went to work on paint and detailing. Dane oversaw construction and directed them on building the car based off of his designs. After about 2 weeks, the paint job and details were blocked out. The prop makers also repaired the ambulance to driving condition, cleaned the interior, and installed equipment. The car was too big to be shipped by air. It was sent by railroad to New York. By the time it shipped on October 19th, the ambulance was about half done. Dane bought parts for the roof rack. Once that was done, it was shipped by airplane to New York to where it was attached to Ecto-1. It took around 4 to 5 days for everything to ship from Hollywood to Manhattan. The finished Ecto-1 wasn't an exact duplicate of Dane's design. Dane originally drew the proton packs to lay sideways on Ecto-1's gurney, but the prop makers changed that so that the packs were upright and at a slight angle. Some parts on the roof rack changed position from the design. They were on top of each other or faced in a different direction. After 1 or 2 days of finishing touches, the Ecto-1 was ready for filming. Ecto-1 broke down in Central Park. They were blocking the crosstown traffic so that the cast and crew then pushed it out of the way. After principal photography moved to Los Angeles, a second unit continued doing a couple of shoots in New York with Ecto-1, and it broke down. Ecto-1 died during filming of the Chapter 20 Keymaster scene, where Ray and Winston drove across the Manhattan Bridge. The black and gray Cadillac was returned to Roger February of 1984, with some damage to the rear end as if it had been backed into a wall. A handmade logo was put on the door when Roger and his then-girlfriend Annette took the car to a drive-in for opening night of the movie in Wheeling, Illinois, June 15, 1984. A few years later, in 1988, Roger sold it to a downstate Illinois paramedic and car collector named Ed. Before the release of Ghostbusters the video game in 2009, the original Ecto-1 was now rusty and literally falling apart. It was fully restored to promote the game. Dan Aykroyd was shocked at the high quality of restoration. Around 2012, the black and gray Cadillac was sold to a private car collection in Illinois. A miniature replica of the vehicle was mass-produced as a children's toy. AMT/ERTL offered a 1/25th of the Ecto-1A in 1989, while Polar Lights released a 1/25th scale plastic model kit of the Ecto-1 in 2002. In 2010, Hot Wheels released a Ghostbusters Ecto-1 as part of the 2010 Hot Wheels Premiere Series. Hot Wheels Elite released a highly detailed 1/18th die-cast of the Ecto-1 in 2010, and in early 2013 they released a 1/18th Ecto-1A as seen in Ghostbusters II. The repaired Ectomobile is named on screen with the license plate shown reading Ecto-1. The word Ectomobile was only used in the song Cleaning Up the Town from the film's soundtrack. The filmmakers planned to have the Ecto-1 painted black, but the color of the vehicle was changed to white when it was decided a black car would be too difficult to see during the night scenes. 3 cars have played the vehicle in the movies. The third 1959 Miller Meteor was purchased after the second one died during a shooting of Ghostbusters II. The black Miller Meteor seen at the beginning of the first movie was leased and only used for that scene and never converted for filming. The original Ecto-1 was restored by Sony for the release of Ghostbusters the video game, and currently sits in front of Sony Pictures' Ghost Corps building along with the 2016 Ecto-1. The Ecto-1A was originally scheduled to be restored along with the original Ecto-1, but a lack in funds meant only Ecto-1 could be restored. The deteriorated car continued to sit at the Universal backlot for years. In 2019, the Ecto-1A was turned into one of 2 weathered versions of the Ecto-1 for filming of Ghostbusters Afterlife. It was later used for filming Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, particularly the scenes shot in New York. The Universal Studios Spooktacular Stage Show featured an Ectomobile replica built by a man from Tennessee. The Universal Studios Ecto-1 replica was sold at the Barrett-Jackson Auto Auction in Scottsdale, Arizona on January 22, 2010 for $80,000. 80. Another replica was made by Peter Mosen and bought by George Barris. Yet another replica currently resides at Historic Auto Attractions Museum in Roscoe, Illinois. Primary canon history. Ghostbusters from 1984. The vehicle used for Ecto-1 was the 1959 Cadillac Professional Chassis built by the Miller Meteor Company. The ambulance/hearse combination was the end-loader variety. Dr. Ray Stantz found the vehicle in 1984, shortly after he mortgaged his mother's house to buy the firehouse. Because of his mechanical skills, he was able to repair the vehicle, which he acquired for $4,800. After repairs were completed, the vehicle had quite a unique character. It became a well-recognized symbol for the Ghostbusters franchise. The vehicle had enough room in it to store proton packs for all of the crew, along with ecto goggles, PKE meters, and a slew of traps. Ghostbusters II. After the Ghostbusters were shut down, the Ecto-1 was primarily for transport to and from appearances at such places as children's birthday parties. It fell into a state of disrepair and was seen spewing smoke and having other various mechanical problems. Following the Ghostbusters' return to business in 1989 after capturing of the Scoleri brothers, the Ecto-1 got an overhaul and was renamed Ecto-1A. Ghostbusters Trivia. In the August 5, 1983 draft of the first movie, on page 85, a Motor Trend cover hails Ecto-1 as Car of the Year. There had been 3 Miller Meteor ambulances to portray the 2 vehicles in the first 2 movies. The pre-Ecto-1, which was never transformed, Ecto-1, which was originally gold, and Ecto-1A. Dan Aykroyd drove the Ecto-1 in New York. $4,800 was a rather large sum at the time for a used vehicle in such a state of disrepair, but it is comparable to about $10,686 in 2012. A second Cadillac was bought in case of any maintenance problems during the filming of the first movie, but only the primary was fully converted. The secondary was used solely for early pre-modification scenes. The sound designer, Richard Beggs, incorporated a modified leopard snarl for the siren sound. The snarl was reversed, played backwards, and then its speed was changed. Ecto-1 was promoting the 1984 film shortly after it was released in theaters. It drove around New York City with one of the Ghostbusters driving in it in costume. Ecto-1 caused many accidents because other drivers lost control when they spotted the now famous car and got distracted. In a deleted scene of the first movie, there was an encounter between a policeman and the Ecto-1. It was the only scene in the final shooting script that suggested the vehicle had some extra-normal powers carried over from Aykroyd's initial draft. It was removed because it slowed down the montage. Ivan Reitman also felt that it was asking too much from the audience. At around the 44.5-minute mark of the preview cut, included first in the 2022 Ghostbusters Ultimate Edition, Ecto-1 drives by a bicyclist. At around the 45-minute, 39-second mark, Egon fixes the roof rack on the Ecto-1. At around 46 minutes, they check under the hood of Ecto-1 while in the city. The scene where Ray and Winston are in the Ecto-1 talking about the end of the world was used to audition actors for the role of Winston. In the final shot of Ecto-1 driving away in the first movie, a 65mm camera was used. They could only do one take because they were losing daylight. Ecto-1 was almost a completely different car. Initially, the Ghostbusters were supposed to drive a 1975 Cadillac, but the 1959 Cadillac Miller Meteor was chosen instead. The smoke rising from Ecto-1 in Ghostbusters II was actually real. The scenes depicting the car backfiring and emitting smoke were not special effects, but a result of poor maintenance. This caused a major traffic jam on the Brooklyn Bridge, which the production had to pay some hefty fines. The car wasn't as fast as it appeared. The footage of the car was played at a higher speed to create the illusion of speed. The Ecto-1 had a powerful 6.3-liter V8 engine, but its hefty curb weight of 3 tons made it a challenge to handle, and it was incapable of quick speeds in reality. A dedicated fan movement revived the Ecto-1. The Ecto-1 was left to ruin on the Universal Studios backlot. This upset many fans of the franchise. These passionate fans signed a petition for ownership of the car, and they successfully restored it to its former glory. Sony Pictures owns the original Ecto-1 prop car from the first film, but there are multiple versions created for the franchise. You can catch a glimpse of a supposed screen-used 1959 Cadillac Miller Meteor, but you must plan a visit to the Peterson Automotive Museum in Los Angeles. The original 1959 Cadillac Ecto-1 has yet to be put up for sale. However, the value of near-perfect replicas can reach impressive heights. In fact, a perfectly crafted replica Ectomobile was sold at the 2021 Barrett-Jackson Las Vegas auction. It went for a whopping $220,000. The Real Ghostbusters is an American supernatural fiction animated series. a spin-off and sequel of the 1984 comedy film Ghostbusters. The series ran on ABC between September 13th, 1986 and October 5th, 1991, and was a joint production of the DIC, or DEEC, Enterprises in association with Columbia Pictures Television and distributed by Coca-Cola Communications. The series continues the adventures of paranormal investigators Dr. Peter Venkman, Dr. Egon Spengler, Dr. Ray Stantz, Winston Zedmore, and their secretary Janine Melnitz, and their ghost mascot Slimer. The reel was added to the title after a dispute with Filmation and its Ghostbusters properties. There were also 2 ongoing Real Ghostbusters comics, one published monthly by Now Comics in the United States, and another published weekly or originally bi-weekly by Marvel Comics in the United Kingdom. Kenner produced a line of action figures and playsets based on the cartoon. In 2023, events from the series would be adapted for the canon video game Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, in particular the character of Samhain. The plot? The series follows the continuing adventures of the 4 Ghostbusters, their secretary Janine, their accountant Lewis, and their mascot Slimer, as they chase and capture rogue spooks, specters, spirits, and ghosts around New York City and various other areas of the world. Slimer. At the start of the 4th season in 1988, the show was retitled to Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters. It aired in a 1-hour time slot, which the show had begun doing under its original name earlier that same year, January 30th, 1988. In addition to the regular 30-minute Real Ghostbusters episode, a half-hour Slimer sub-series was added that included 2 to 3 short animation segments focusing on the character Slimer. Animation for the Slimer cartoons was handled by Wang Film Productions. At the end of its 7-season run, 147 episodes had aired, including the syndicated episodes and 13 episodes of Slimer, with multiple episodes airing out of production order. Production. At the same time the Real Ghostbusters was being created, Filmation was making a cartoon revamp Ghostbusters of their 1975 live-action series, The Ghostbusters, due to disagreements with Columbia over animation rights. A short pilot episode was produced, but never aired in full. The full 4-minute promo was released on timelapse DVD set in 2008. Scenes of the pilot can be seen in TV promos that aired prior to the beginning of the series. Among differences seen in the promo pilot, the Ghostbusters wore beige jumpsuits as in the film, and the character design for Peter Venkman bore more of a resemblance to the actor of Bill Murray. The character designs by Jim McDermott were dramatically different, with color-coded jumpsuits for each character. When he auditioned for the voice of Egon Spengler, Maurice LaMarche noted that while he was asked not to impersonate Harold Ramis, he did so anyway and eventually got the part. LaMarche also noted that Bill Murray had remarked offhandedly to producers that Lorenzo Music's voice for Peter Venkman sounded more like Garfield, who was also voiced by Music at the time. Murray went on to voice Garfield in Garfield the Movie, and its sequel in the 2000s after Music died in 2001. Dave Coulier took over the role of Venkman from Music starting in the 3rd season. Coulier explained that Joe Medjuck, a producer on both the original '84 film and the animated series, wanted the characters to sound more like Murray. Ernie Hudson was the only actor from the films who auditioned to play his character in the series. However, the role was given to Arsenio Hall and later Buster Jones. Although the Ghostbusters concept was tinkered with, the finalized show does feature many tie-ins from the films. In the season episode 1, Take 2, the Ghostbusters fly to Hollywood to visit the set of a movie based on their adventures, which is revealed to be the 1984 movie at the end of the episode. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man makes numerous appearances. During the third season, Walter Peck, the Environmental Protection Agency antagonist from the original film, reappears. The uniforms and containment unit are redesigned, and Slimer is changed from a bad ghost to a resident and friend, events which are explained in the episode Citizen Ghost, that flashes back to what happened to the Ghostbusters right after the film's events. Gozer is mentioned repeatedly through the series, usually in comparison to a ghost where they are currently battling. In the third season, some of the character designs were modified. Ray's character design was slimmed down to give the character a less overweight appearance, and Slimer was given a tail instead of the formerly rounded bottom. He reverted to a stub in Season 6. The biggest change was to the character of Janine, whose hair was completely changed from being short and spiky to long and straight. Her short skirts became longer, and her small pointy eyeglasses were changed to big round eyeglasses. Her overall design was softened, as was her personality. Her voice was also softened, with Keith Sushi taking over the voice role from Laura Summer. ABC also went back and redubbed Peter and Janine's dialogue in several episodes of the show with Dave Coulier and Keith Sushi, respectively. Changes to Janine's character were eventually addressed in the Season 6 episode entitled Janine, You've Changed. Most of these changes were the result of ABC hiring a consulting firm called Q5 in an attempt for guidance on improving the network's low ratings for their Saturday morning lineup, a move strongly criticized by the show's writers J. Michael Straczynski, who was a story editor on the series and wrote episodes for every season except 4 and 7, and Michael Reeves. Many of the changes brought on by Q5 were then criticized by Straczynski as being racist and sexist, such as having each Ghostbuster have a specific role, such as a body, Peter being a mouth, Ray being heart, and Egon the brain. But making Winston the only African-American character, the driver saying he is the hands. Another example would be stating how the character of Janine needed to be more nurturing, dressed in more dress-like outfits, and made less harsh and slutty. At the start of the series' 4th season in '88, the opening was completely redone to center around Slimer. Eventually, the episodes were expanded from their original half-hour format to last a whole hour, and the overall feel of the show was changed to be more youthful, with episodes having a lighter tone to be less frightening. By Season 5, Louis Tully was added to the show following the character's appearance in Ghostbusters II. Voice acting and animation. Recording for the show took place in Los Angeles, California. The cast always recorded together instead of separately as is custom. After recording of the dialogue was completed, sound tapes, storyboards, backgrounds, and character designs were then shipped to Japanese animation studios for animation and filming. South Korean studios were also used during the final 2 seasons. Broadcast. The show originally aired on ABC for its full run except for the 2nd season, which ran in syndication at the same time as the 3rd season ran on ABC. Later, reruns of the show appeared on the USA Network's USA Cartoon Express from September 16th, 91 to September 11th of 94. For a short time in August of 97, the series returned to syndication as part of Bobat's Entertainment's Amazin' Adventures, as anticipation for Extreme Ghostbusters, which was planned to air on the block. Fox Family Channel also reran the series from August 17th, 1998 to October 1st, 1999. In August of 2012, reruns began airing on FearNet during the weekends, part of their Funhouse block. And on April 1st, 2017, the show began to stream on Netflix, but was removed 2 years later. Then the show aired in Spanish on Telehitos from 2022 to 2023. As of June 25, 2024, the show is currently airing on MeTV Tunes. It aired on ITV in the UK in February of 1988. To celebrate the upcoming release of Ghostbusters Afterlife, both the Real Ghostbusters and Extreme Ghostbusters were released onto the official Ghostbusters YouTube channel. Reception. The series has received critical acclaim since its premiere. The first season received an approval rating of 100% on review aggregator Rotten Tomatoes based on 5 reviews. Common Sense Media gave the series a 3 out of 5 stars. Parents need to know that The Real Ghostbusters is an animated series spun off the mega-popular 1984 movie Ghostbusters. The Real was added to avoid confusion with an unrelated cartoon of the same name. The core characters remained the same, although the cartoon is skewed toward younger kids and, as such, drops the swearing, the smoking, and the sexual innuendo. While the Ghostbusters do spend their days vanquishing evil, the monsters and phantoms they encounter are often quite silly. Some of them even make wisecracks and are not too scary. I used to have my breakfast cereal watching the classic 80s and 90s cartoons like these. I even had the Ghostbusters Hardy noisemaker. Just some good nostalgia and excellent amount of detail in the LEGO set. One of the things I hope LEGO can do in the future is to have maybe a soundbite brick, much like the light-up bricks, except having an iconic sound play from the film or show. For this set, it would have been cool to have a brick that makes the screeching, wailing sound of the siren. Total build time, 6 hours, 44 minutes, 15 seconds. We watched all 13 episodes from Season 1 of the Real Ghostbusters animated series, and the first 4 episodes of Season 2. 17 episodes in total, including intro and end credits, and just a little bit of episode 18, of the 18th episode. Alternatively, you could watch Ghostbusters at 105 minutes, Ghostbusters 2 at 108 minutes, Ghostbusters Afterlife at 124 minutes, and 67 minutes of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Remember to like, subscribe, share, ring that bell, all the things for the YouTubes. Goodbye.